Hi, I'm Madi Hockaday, also known as the Anne of this relationship.
And I'm Holly Constant, the Leslie.
We love Parks and Rec. We love behind the scenes.
And we love each other. This is literally the best Parks and Recreation rewatch show.
We're your park pals.
There's a park and some pals, and there's also therapy too.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, welcome.
Welcome to Park Pals. We are here for KABOOM. So exciting. And I am just like so excited at this moment because we have our resident government official. Our Park Pals resident government officials. Say hi to my sister, Brookelynn Constant. Hi. Massive applause. How's it going, Brookelynn?
It's going wonderful.
Oh my God, like how do you feel about being here?
I feel great. I'm really excited because I love this episode.
Okay, good. Us too. You know what I was thinking? It's going to be weird because I feel like you and I have very similar voices, Brookelynn. So
yeah, a lot of people do say that.
No, it's true. Well, especially because when we get around each other, I feel like we match each other's cadences and pitches and tones. And so it's really fascinating to me. And I really hope that everyone can tell the difference of who's speaking. You'll be able to tell. It's fine. But it's just really hilarious.
I know. Yeah.
That reminds me of that episode of How I Met Your Mother. Have you seen that? Where like Lily's friend from high school comes back and she talks completely differently around her high school friend.
I feel like I remember that one.
It's kind of like, you get back in a certain mood and you're in that vibe.
Yeah, and you mirror the like accent and the inflections.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so Brookelynn is in St. Louis, and she works for the government, the federal government there. So I'm excited to see what kind of things that you are bringing to the show and like what things that are real or not real. If we have questions that are very amateur, I apologize in advance.
No.
But also, like, I think everyone will be very interested.
Yes, I'm really excited because I feel like this episode really encapsulates just trying to work through the bureaucracy, and trying to
red tape
get shit done. Yes, exactly. Yes. So I can identify with Leslie on a lot of levels in this episode. So
Okay, so exciting. All right. Well, I'm going to start with my recap from last episode. So we did Sister City last episode, and I really only have one thing. So the first thing is that last episode we said that Aubrey Plaza probably isn't a native Spanish speaker because Ivan had talked about how, like, she totally memorized that script in, like, a Spanish accent, and that is accurate. So I looked it up, and she was raised in a Spanish-speaking home, so she understands it perfectly, but she can't always respond correctly or respond like in the right cadence or tone or whatever we talked about before, like with the accent and stuff. So that is correct.
I feel that.
So good job, Ivan.
I feel that. And when I'm around his family, I'm like, I understand 95% of this. And then they ask me a question. I'm like, can I respond in English? Because this is not going to come out right.
Right. Totally. Awesome. Okay. So now we are into KABOOM. Thank you for my recap moment.
Wait. I have something.
What?
That I texted you, and I wanted to just say this because I want to see if people know what's happening.
Oh my God, tell me.
So when I was making the post for when we posted Sister City, I wanted to make sure I was spelling Sweetums correctly, even though I thought I was. I just wanted to triple check. And when I Googled Sweetums from Parks and Rec is not the first thing that comes up.
Oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah. It is a Muppets character that I have never heard of in my entire life.
What?
And I watched Muppets growing up. Like,
I know. I've never heard of that character either.
Yeah, Brookelynn, look it up right now.
It's creepy. It's a creepy looking thing.
I know. And I'm not like a huge Muppets person, so I feel like, I wouldn't know anyways. But at the same time, I feel like I know enough to be like, oh, yeah, I know that one. But I saw this and I was like, no, I have no idea who that is.
Well, the thing is, too, like, I texted Holly right when I found it, and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
But, like, I thought maybe it's a new character, and it came out after I watched. But no, it was performed by somebody from the years of 1975 to 1991. So it was prior to our time of watching it. So, yeah.
It was a scary
We'll post a picture.
I agree.
But, yeah. I just want to know if anybody else in the audience, like, is familiar with this, because I was genuinely concerned when that came up. So... yeah, that's my recap.
That's like really, that's really so funny because usually I ask you, I'm like, do you have everything? Like, do you have anything to add? And I didn't ask this time. I'm so sorry.
Most of the time I don't have things, so that's fair.
I know. Okay, thank you. All right, kaboom. Are we ready to get started on the show,
Yes.
y'all?
Let's do it.
Okay, so this was directed by Charles McDougall, or McDougall. I'm truly not sure how to pronounce it.
I think it's McDougal because I've heard
Okay.
his name on Office Ladies.
Okay, McDougall. Okay, thank you. Yes, that's something that I have too. Huge Office director. He directed 8 episodes of The Office, including Dwight's speech, which was so amazing. And he also directed Pool Party, a bunch of others. But he also directed Pawnee Rangers. So, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to talk about him.
Another excellent episode.
Yes. With more SNL guest stars,
Yes, so good. It's the best.
which we love.
Yes. He also directed the pilot of Desperate Housewives, but I don't think he did any other episodes in the series. But it is interesting, like, quick Hollywood break, like pilot directors / direction are just so important because they help set the tone of the show and the direction that it'll go. Like, what's his face? Jim Burrows, I think is his name, directed the first pilot episode of Friends, but he also directed a bunch of other pilots that like went on to really be successful. So I think that's really interesting to know. So Charles McDougall, we love him. He also directed 6 episodes of Sex and the City, which we love.
Wow.
And I knew a couple episodes of the Mindy Project. He directed the pilot of the Mindy Project too. So yeah, he's been in the, I guess, Schur-verse for sure.
I like that.
They are calling it Schur-verse, by the way.
Are you serious? That's amazing.
Yes, it's like literally like a Marvel universe because what's it? The new show that I can't remember. It's on Peacock with Ed Helms, Andy from The Office is in it. Rutherford Falls, I believe it's called, and they tweeted about it. Peacock TV did, and they were like, "We've got a new small town show to add to the Schur-verse," and I was like, "Oh my god, that's wild that they're calling him that."
Well, he's so involved, right? I mean, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Good Place.
Yeah.
Like some huge shows he's touched. I also saw House of Cards for Charles McDougall, which is a big one and kind of a big change from the other.
Oh, yeah.
From the other ones because that's a huge drama piece.
It's like not lighthearted at all.
No. My brother has specifically warned me. He's like, you got to wait till your heart's in the right spot to be like just completely upset with our government. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not there yet.
Cool. Okay. So anything else on Charles McDougall?
Dougal.
Or McDougall. Sorry. I'm cutting that part out. All right.
Well, I feel worse about the writer's name because I know I'm going to pronounce this wrong.
I know. Okay, yes. So this was written by Aisha. I know I had a friend named Aisha like in middle school or something. So I know that that's how you pronounce that. Hopefully that's right. Muharrar is how I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Aisha wrote this. I did reach out to her on Instagram, but I have not heard back. And the last thing that she posted, I think, was last year, like, it was a long time ago that she posted, so I don't know that she's as active on Instagram as I would like her to be, unfortunately, but that's totally okay. Very understandable. She was also a producer on Parks and Rec as well as The Good Place. But when I get a producer on the show, and that will happen, it will. Don't you worry. I'm going to manifest it. But when I get a producer on the show, I really want to know the difference because if you've noticed or if you've looked on IMDb, there's a consulting producer, there's a co-producer, and just like a straight up producer. And I would really love to know the difference between all 3 of those. I can kind of like put it together from context clues, but I really want to know like specific details of what differentiates those 3 titles.
Also,
you know?
I believe in you. It will happen.
It will. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes. And can't like aren't there like multiple producers listed? Like even if you're just like, I found a good person to be included in the show, you can be listed as a producer credit or something.
I think so. See, that's the thing. I don't know.
I think it's a pretty broad title.
Yeah. And like I think executive producer is really like the big deal. You know, the EP is a big deal. So yeah, I would love to know more information about that. I feel very naive about that. So anyway, that'll happen. But Aisha wrote 14 episodes, including Recall Vote and Donna and Joe. Love that. She is a boss. We love her. But she was also, so I thought that she looked really familiar when I saw her picture, but she was in the Pawnee Eagleton tip-off episode. So remember when April goes to the school that she's going to be a vet with in, and then she goes with Anne, and Anne goes and looks at all of the baby clothes, and she's like, this is the first baby bib I've seen that doesn't have Dale Earnhardt's face juniors or whatever the hell on them. And the lady, the worker lady, is like, really? That's Aisha.
Oh, sweet.
I know, and that's so cool. I love when writers and producers and directors and stuff like make little cameo appearances. It's so fun.
Yeah, me too.
But oh my gosh, when I fast forwarded to like watch that episode, the Pawnee Eagleton, I just like cannot wait till Ben gets here.
I know.
It gets so good, y'all.
We're not far off.
I know, it's wild.
I know.
He comes in way earlier than I think I remembered. But
yeah, their storyline kind of develops over a couple of seasons, and I love it.
It's so perfect. We all need a Ben in our life.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, now I have written summary, so I'm ready.
I love that you write it in there now. Don't forget about Maddie.
I truly do.
I love the summaries.
They're fun, right?
I try to make them concise.
Yes, they're so good. And that is what happened, because we all need a little refresher.
I know.
Because not a lot of people I've been finding have been watching the show with us. Some of them are, but it's truly because not a lot of them have Peacock, because there's not a lot of ways to watch Parks and Rec unless you have the DVDs or you have Peacock. And you guys, I mean, truly, I don't know why they're not paying us yet, but Peacock is very, very, very affordable and very, very worth it. It has Parks and Rec, The Office, and there's like deleted scenes from The Office that are in there. It's only $5 a month as of now. They might raise it. Obviously, they will eventually. But right now, it's only $5. And they have some Harry Potters and Modern Family. They just got a lot of stuff on there. So I highly recommend. And then you can watch along with us.
And season 1 and season 2, we're on season 2. So those are free still.
Well, they were free. So. I don't know that they are anymore, Brookelyn.
1 and 2 aren't anymore?
I don't think they are. That's why I signed up.
Okay. Well, I bought it on iTunes. The entire all of the seasons on sale for $60, which I feel like was a pretty good deal for the amount.
$60 for all of them? That's actually really lit. Yeah, I like that.
On iTunes, so I don't have to like subscribe. It's on my phone, and I can just watch it whenever I want. And I have to pay any subscription services. So
yes, queen.
That's like less than $10 a season.
I know, right?
So if you're worried about spending money on a subscription, that's a pretty good deal.
Brooklyn's smart. That's why we have her.
About the whole thing.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I have to just say, too, that reading these summaries has also reminded me that I either suck at reading out loud or I don't know how to read my own handwriting.
I was worried about that, too, because I took handwritten notes, and I'm like, I hope I can read most of these.
Right?
See, y'all, I can't do that anymore. I used to, but I'm all about the Google Drive. I just have it open while I'm watching the show, and I type it.
I should have done that, yeah.
But, there's something like psychological about a handwritten thing. So I don't know.
Yeah.
To each their own. Different strokes.
Yeah. Okay. Inspired by KABOOM, a fake playground building company, and Mark, Leslie takes the next step in pit beautification project into her own hands. Her decision to fill in the pit leads to Andy getting covered in dirt, as we learn he's still living in the pit, and decides to file a lawsuit to get money to impress Anne until Leslie presents him with a more appealing offer.
Woo! Yeah!
Perfect.
Get it, girl. So last episode in Sister City, we started with a little bit of a segment called Constant Knowledge. And I know that I think it's going to be like a little double whammy as well. It can be a plural constant knowledge, because Brookelyn and I were talking about this as well, about just before we get started in the review about KABOOM. So fun fact, fun constant knowledge moment is that KABOOM is actually a real organization.
Oh.
Very wild. Daryl Hammond is this guy's name, and Don Hutchinson started this in 1995, shortly after Daryl had moved to D.C. And I'll just say my part, and then Brookelyn, I want you to add more of what you were saying too, because it's really interesting. So this Daryl fellow read a story in the Washington Post about 2 local children who suffocated while playing in an abandoned car because they had nowhere else to play, apparently. And this, combined with all this other stuff that he had gone through in his life, inspired him and his friend Don to address that need for playgrounds for kids. And so they were already committed to designing this day of service for Youth Service America, which is also another organization. And so they chose to build their first playground at Livingston Manor, is what it's called, in Southeast DC. And it involved over 500 volunteers, and it took 5 days. This was in October of 1995. So then he started this actual nonprofit in 96, and evidently he had help from Hillary Clinton, who donated money from her book that she wrote, It Takes a Village. And they had a bunch of national sponsors like Target and Nike and stuff. And then when Hurricane Katrina hit, they also pledged to make a bunch of playgrounds in that area. And this was inspired because Parks and Rec included this charity, KABOOM, as this episode because there's a charity campaign called I Participate, and it was sponsored by the Entertainment Industry Foundation, which I had no idea was a thing, but a bunch of other networks were involved, and then they picked charities to go with the episode or to go with the show to donate to. And so Greg Daniels was responsible for picking this one, and Daryl Hammond is quoted as saying, after he saw the episode, he's quoted as saying it was perfect. Oh, so
Amazing.
Funny. Which we'll talk about all the words that they do. Anyways.
I love that. There's also a Ben & Jerry's flavor, too, that was inspired from KABOOM called Kaberry KABOOM, I think. So.
No!
That's awesome.
I don't know if they still have it, but I want to try it.
Me too! Oh my God, that's awesome. Also, this
Same.
dude has since stepped down, but it's still very active. He has a memoir, which I definitely want to buy at some point. But yeah, go to kaboom.org. I'll link it in the show notes. But wow, I did not know that it was real until I did some research. And then also, side note, don't get it confused with the cleaner, because there's also a cleaning product called KABOOM. So
yep,
there's
I
that.
have it under my sink.
But yeah, Brookelynn, what did you find?
Well, I was really interested in learning more about the character in this show, and I wondered if the CEO of KABOOM at the time was similar, doing other things around the country, around the world. He grew up in Illinois, actually, just outside of Chicago, and then moved to DC area. And right now, I think they have a lot of partnerships with Detroit and Boston and a couple others. And I think and I just saw before I got on to that in February, they just named their third CEO, and her name is Lisa Ratliff.
Did you say something about him being in a foster home or something?
Yeah,
like
when
that
he
too?
was younger. Yeah, he grew up in a community home. He had, I think, 7 other siblings. And so when he was young, he went to live in a foster home outside of Chicago. And I think that kind of generated a lot of his interest, too, in kind of developing service days and helping kids. He was also involved with AmeriCorps, which is another really awesome organization for just teaching and being engaged with young kids. So pretty cool.
That's really cool. I really love that. In all of my time watching Parks and Rec, I never would have known.
Yeah, right?
I know. Yeah. And I didn't find anything that showed that any of the CEOs or anyone had just ridden off into the sunset on a speedboat. They're going to go build a hospital in China. But I was that would have been really cool.
Yes. Oh my God. That would have been hilarious if we found out that it was all a scam. Oh my God. In real life too.
But what a great scam. That's the sweet thing about it. It's even if it was a scam, it's who just goes around just volunteering their time to, help create playgrounds. If it is a scam, I'll be a part of that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I am now at the cold open if everyone else is.
I love this cold
Me too.
open.
Oh my God. I literally gasped out loud when I realized which one it was, because I was this is my favorite one.
I love it.
Well, we just learned so much about Leslie.
I know.
Yes.
All the things that she buys. It's such a great character development / character detail moment. I do have a fun fact about the credit card representative on the phone. I looked up who it was, and it was Katie DePold. Katie DePold was the writer of Beauty Pageant. And friendly reminder, she is also the one that's allergic to, or not allergic, but deathly afraid of animals when they're trying to find a new animal control person. And she's just don't give me this job. That's Katie DePold. And so she was the one on the phone. I thought that was so fun.
Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yes. Okay. $20 to Netflix and Blockbuster Online.
Okay, I didn't know Blockbuster Online was a thing.
I don't think I knew that either.
Yeah.
I wonder if it is. I didn't look it up.
Right.
Well, it's definitely not now. Blockbuster is done.
I think they were trying
Maybe they tried to compete with
yeah.
Netflix and it just
That
did
makes
not.
sense. I feel bad. It's like Tom's making fun of her. You need both of them. And now we all have like 20 different streaming services that we use.
Seriously.
Yes. And I think in an earlier episode, you guys were talking about when you used to have to like ask for the discs of them to mail to you. And Gossip Girl has just so many seasons. And I love that she's like, I needed all 11 seasons at one time. Like, who can actually consume that much?
That's the worst part, though, is when you're like, you have the 3 DVDs and you're watching a season of something and you get to the last one, you're like, damn it, that ended on a cliffhanger and now I have to wait the 8 days it's going to take Netflix to get me the new discs.
Right. Yeah, because you've got to mail the ones you had before.
Yeah.
We have it so good with streaming.
I know, seriously.
And then they're right on our phone. That's the thing.
Right.
And you don't have to watch it on TV.
Yeah.
Oh my God, spoiled.
Yeah. Netflix, like, releasing an entire season of shows so we can binge them.
Yeah.
was
Speaking
amazing.
of that, you guys should watch or listen to this podcast called Smartless that Jason Bateman. Oh my God.
I've listened to that.
Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes from Will and Grace, and then I'm forgetting it. Will. Oh, fuck. I forgot his name. It's
Will
Amy.
Arnett.
Will Arnett.
Will Arnett.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes. Amy Poehler's ex-husband,
Yeah,
who we'll
it's
talk
good. It's
about in
funny.
later episodes. But anyways, they had the guy from Netflix, like, who created this whole streaming service. And, like, it was kind of like an accident where, you know, they had somebody who made a low-budget kind of series situation and no one else wanted to take it, and so this guy was like, okay, like, we'll try it, like, how many do you have? And the guy was like, I have all of them, like, we finished it, we're done. And so then it started that way, and then he was like, oh my God, this is kind of like a brilliant idea to just release all of them at the same time, and it just completely changed the culture of streaming and consuming entertainment. It's wild.
It's very
Yeah.
cool.
Also, I would definitely pay to go to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry and get a
yes.
wand and a diploma.
Same here. I know.
Oh, I was just going to say, I called her being a potions major from like 5 miles away.
Well done, Maddie.
Called that.
Yes, I can totally see that too. I was looking up the different majors and I was like, oh, what would I major
I
in?
literally wrote that in my notes. I asked, what would you major in? ? I wanted to see what you guys would major in.
I know. I thought potions was pretty good, but I think I also really liked charms.
Good one, Brookelynn.
What would you guys?
I would want to be an Auror, so I would do the defense against the dark arts stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
I would say, yeah, I really like charms, but I also, maybe it sounds witchy, but I really do like the Trelawney moments. What is that one?
Divination.
Divination, thank you.
Yes.
I
yeah.
think that
No,
might
that's
be
cool.
something for me.
Yeah, I would like to. There's like I was reading like a Harry Potter fandom page to refresh my memory, but there's some level of when you're like a 3rd or 4th year, like when Hermione gets the time turner, and I was like, I want to work towards that. So that would be cool if they sent me the wand and the time turner and my diploma. So.
Yeah. I think divination, I'd like to revise my statement. I think that divination would be like my minor. You know how you can have like a major and minor?
Yes.
And I think that my major would probably be potions because truly thinking about it, I like the idea of having like a schedule and like looking at the recipes and making sure everything is there. And then I really like the idea of maybe having a pensive, and then I can like, make my own cauldron moment. You know what I mean? Okay.
Yeah, I just basically want to follow whatever Hermione did. So
Yeah. You are so Hermione, Brookelynn. I love
Hermione.
that.
She inspired me. I remember waiting outside of Borders at the time for midnight Harry Potter book releases. Okay, dressing up like Hermione. Loved it. I was there.
Yeah. Oh my God. That Borders. Good times.
Oh, yeah.
Deep cut.
My brother and I saved money to get the 7th one, and we only had enough money to buy one. And I pulled the I'm older than you card.
That is
I get to read it
I got
first.
to read it first. Yeah. And I'm sitting there like, Tommy died, but I can't tell Connor, and I can't talk to him about it yet. With literally everyone that died, because that whole book is like a murder spree on main
it's so
characters.
sad, but it's the best.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
It's so
I
sad.
know. I know. It's so good, though.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Then we have our man pillow.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Shaped like Daniel
yes.
Craig. Yes. It's for my lower back.
I love that it's Daniel Craig.
Bucket of cake.
Bucket of cake, yes. Okay, they have that now. Okay, not a bucket, but they have you seen this where they have a cake in a mug now?
Yeah, so cute. And and it's like bite size, so you don't feel like shit when you eat the entire thing.
Right. Brookelyn, have you heard of this?
I've seen it in stores where you can like put it in like a mug and like make it in the microwave.
Yeah, that's what it is. And that's really what it reminded me of.
But I like straight up want a full bucket of cake. Okay.
That's what I'm saying, girl.
Like, I need to quadruple. I can just see, like, Leslie at home watching Gossip Girl, putting in her, like, hair extensions and just eating a bucket of cake. You know, because she, like,
Craig
loves
pillow.
sugar.
Right. Yeah.
With Daniel Craig sitting.
Oh my God, what a perfect visual. And you know what? That's so funny because that really like signifies that everything she bought on that credit card is for one night. Like one weekend.
You know those nights when you're just kind of like bored, like alone at home?
Yes.
Just like, what am I going to buy or what am I going to do?
Totally. Or maybe that's just a weekend ritual. Oh my God. I love that.
I love that. I feel bad that Tom can like keep the line open. I'm like, oh my God.
That's like a power he should not have as her subordinate.
I know, exactly. Like, why are there phone lines like this?
Right.
Oh, Lord.
I like that Tom asked her, like, who the man pillow was. Like, he really wanted to know.
Yeah. What's it shaped like? Who is it? All right, so now we are moving on, if you're okay, to the KABOOM fella. We are now getting to Paul Scheer, who plays the KABOOM guy. Just a friendly reminder that he has been in so many things. He's been in The League, and also we talk about this ad nauseum probably, but that sketch show Human Giant on MTV, which if you haven't gone down a YouTube rabbit hole yet, you 1000% need to go and watch those videos, because that's really why Aziz is on Parks and Rec, actually, because it was him, Paul Scheer, the KABOOM guy, and Rob Hubel, who plays Holly's boyfriend AJ in The Office, but also the Rent-A-Tent guy in Parks and Rec. So those three fellas had a show, and I swear 95% of those people are in Parks and Rec, or The Office, or whatever Schur-verse moment we have. So very hilarious. But yeah, it's so funny. He's so winded. He's so committed. He's like running around. I was like, there's a bunch of deleted scenes of him doing even more. Like he's high-fiving everybody, doing the worm, like getting really dirty. He's just like legitimately out of breath.
Yes.
Well, I think he does such a great job with this high energy character, right? Because he, like, even when he's walking next to Leslie and Anne, he's got like this jump in his step almost. Like, and it's just, I was like, this is such an interesting and wonderful character choice for who you are right now. Like, this is
and it's,
wonderful.
I wrote in my notes, like, he's never actually doing any of the like work. He's just running around like clapping and just being like, come on guys. And like it could be like really obnoxious, like that kind of person that's just running around, but he's just like so fully committed to it. Just like the relentless optimism and like cheerleading. You're just like, okay.
Go faster. Ron's the master.
Ron's the master. Ron's like, annoyed by
He
it.
is so mad.
He's so done.
I'm done with it.
Oh, that's so
love him so
I really
much.
like when Leslie is like talking about like this whole project initially, though, in the beginning, where she's like, you can't build this fast, and like I don't trust anything that can be built this quick. That's why I don't eat minute rice.
That's a good line. Also, right now, Leslie isn't mad about Eagleton because that's where they're supposed to be, technically.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. So I'm really interested
Yep.
to see when that will turn and kind of the trajectory of who came up with that, you know?
Right. And I tried to kind of make sense of it in my mind, right? Like, does Leslie hate Eagleton enough in the future to not even go help build a park? And I mean, I'm kind of tilting on that line. But then there's a scene later where she and Anne come back and they're chilling on the swings together. And I'm like, she wouldn't do that. So she doesn't hate him yet. I mean, but they make it seem like she's had this lifelong hate. So I don't know.
Right.
I don't know where the disconnect is, but I don't think she hates it to the level she hates it later. Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think it progressively gets worse. Like season 6, Leslie.
Yeah.
I don't think she'd even go to build a park. You know, I don't know, but that's just my opinion. I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
No, I can get on board with that.
Yeah, I like to imagine it's like on the outskirts of Eagleton. And that, yeah, it's just like such a big project that it's like everyone can volunteer because it's nearby, and there's no parks where anything like this would ever happen in Pawnee right now because they're all raccoon infested.
Yes, that's a great fan theory. I love that.
So I'm thinking that she was like, okay, you know, this is a really big deal from this big organization. Let's go see what they're all about. And we don't meet anyone from the Eagleton Parks Department there either.
Right.
So.
That's really interesting. Okay, yeah.
Did you see there's a board on the stage when he's presenting at the very beginning and he's like kind of getting everybody hyped up? There's like a bulletin board type looking thing and it says Dream Playground on the top. And then on the bottom, I couldn't really tell. So I don't know if anybody listening to this had stopped it and got a good screenshot or if I should go back and try. It literally looks like they gave 5-year-olds a pencil and were like, draw what your park looks like. It looks like scribbles. So I don't know if they meant for it to look like that or
That's awesome.
I don't know. I couldn't get a really good look at it, but that's what it looked like to me.
I have to go back and look at that. I didn't notice it.
Kid design.
Right. Maybe that's what it was. Speaking of which, I love that they're talking about what kind of kids are actually going to be enjoying these swings. Sluts, fat kids, skinny kids, the geeks.
Yeah.
I love that.
So good.
Also, there is a deleted scene where Leslie and Anne are like, okay, shovel time. We can't let those jackasses beat us. And you're thinking, you're like, who's she talking about? And they pan over and there's these like 8-year-olds that are like shoveling things into a wheelbarrow. Oh my God. It's so funny. The timing was perfect.
She would be competitive with 8-year-olds. Damn.
Actually, though.
My last comment on this part where they're building initially is when Keith, the KABOOM guy, is like explaining what KABOOM is. And he's just like, when you KABOOM it, you just blow it up and turn it into something great. And it's like, that, what does that even mean?
No explanation.
Mean anything. Yeah, and you're just like, you know, I guess that's the like left brain, right brain, where you're just like, okay, well, what are the pragmatic steps to actually like build this thing? Like, so it's like borderline annoying, right? like running around because you're just like, you don't know how hard this really is. Like, and I will say in my job, we call some people like that good idea fairies, because they just kind of walk in and they just say, here's a great idea. And it's like, okay, thanks. Like, we haven't thought of that before. And also, we've been trying to get to that good idea for the past, I don't know, 6 months, a year, 12 months. So that's what we call it. And it kind of reminded me of that, because you're just like, all right, thanks for coming by and dropping off the good idea instead of putting in the hard work to get it done.
Yeah.
And like maintain the energy over time. And this guy's just bopping around. You're just like, okay, thanks for that definition.
Yeah. Good idea, fairy. That is really hitting hard with me. I like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Guys, we have Andy coming back.
Yes.
We've lost him for 2 episodes and he's back. Yeah.
That's right.
And he is sharing that he goes to volunteer for the free food.
All of his snack pockets.
I laughed at this and I really shouldn't, especially with the line of work that I'm in. But he says the suicide hotline, surprisingly lame spread.
I know.
I'm like, oh, buddy.
And like he was surprised. He was like, and Meals on Wheels, that was a bonanza. Like they're literally providing meals to homeless people.
Oh my God. And then we have this beautiful line that what's his name, Keith says, take a man kabooming, he kabooms for a day. Teach a man to kaboom. Kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. And there was this deleted scene when Leslie has a talking head and she says, you know, there was a word that really stuck with me that guy said, and it was dedication. Instead of saying kaboom.
Right.
Oh, Lord, that timing was so good.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm ready to go on to City Hall if you guys are.
I had one other quick thing I was going to say, too, where he's, like, remote controlling Ron and stuff.
Oh, my God.
I loved that. But I thought it was really interesting because a lot of times, like, now we talk about, like, you know, for really mundane tasks that, you know, could just be like, oh, my gosh, like, this could be a really long process. It's kind of like you're giving up your Saturday, but it kind of reminded me of, like, gamifying progress, you know, where, like, he comes over and he, like, hands them those little, like, buttons for their lanyards.
Yeah.
You know, and, like, that's really, like, I feel like effective, you know, when you accomplish one little thing, you give yourself a gold star, and you're like, wow, this is great. And I think a lot of times in, like, our jobs, and even, like, probably, you know, in the government, probably your guys' jobs too, like, having somebody recognize, like, you did this, like, one little thing, you're like, hey, great
Positive
job.
reinforcement is so powerful.
Yes. Yeah. So I was like, you know, this is the piece that makes this, you know, kind of annoying optimism, like, good idea stuff, kind of worth it, right? Because you're kind of being rewarded, like, incrementally as you go. And you're like, okay, I've maintained my excitement throughout the day.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really, really interesting. And I liked when they were, I think Leslie says something like, okay, well, now I got to get back to the real world.
Right.
And I feel like that so often sometimes when I'm hanging out with, like, my friends or, you know, other people who are in private industry, and they're just like, oh yeah, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. And I'm like, okay, gotta get back to the real world. Or, like, when you volunteer and you're, like, really stoked on something, and then you're like, okay, all right, back to the grind. Because you don't have that, like, reinforcement and stuff. So
yeah, because you get like complacent after a while, you know? You're just like, well, this is my job. This is what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. It's not, like, exciting or refreshing anymore. And then when someone comes in and actually rewards you or is, like, excited for you. I mean, words of affirmation is, like, Maddie knows this, and you know it too, Brookelynn. Words of affirmation is, like, my literal, like, love language.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It is ego, sure. But I have grace with myself when I think about it, because everyone needs a hype man. Everyone needs to be told, like, hey, you're, like, doing really well. Like, that's a cool thing that you just did, or that this company just did, or X, Y, or Z, you know? It's really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it's really interesting to hear Leslie talk like that for the first, you know, because she is the hype man for the Parks Department.
Yeah.
And this whole, like, city government. So it's so interesting to hear her be like, oh man, I gotta get back to the grind, because she's usually the one that's, like, pushing and driving, just, like, so excited about moving things forward. And that's what I think is really cool about Leslie, is she maintains her, like, I guess, vibe of moving within the bureaucracy, even though, and dealing with, like, the red tape, right? So she's like, I will overcome the red tape. And I think even later she's like, I never really realized how much red tape there was working for the government. You're just like, oh, Leslie.
Yeah, and that's something that Amy Poehler and Mike Schur talked really extensively about, as far as, like, they wanted her character to be kind of like that overpromiser, that naive overachiever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's really playing well into what she's doing here.
Yeah, exactly. And I love their car ride going back to where, like, Anne is talking about, like, doing a bunch of diagnostic tests, and then just, like, in and out.
I love that. They bring that little nurse detail.
Yeah.
We have a Tom Sleaze moment that made me groan out loud.
Sleazy Tom.
Because Leslie is saying, like, take off your thinking caps and put on your doing caps. And Tom says, I've got a couple doing caps in my wallet. And I was like, literally out loud, oh.
I like Mark's smile, though. They pan over to Mark, and he's, like, whimsically smiling.
I know. He
can't say anything, right? Because Anne's sitting there. So he's got to be careful with how he does that.
And then this dry eraser doesn't work because Jerry used permanent marker. But also, like, I'm kind of excited because, in a weird way, because Jerry actually messed up this time. Because I feel like previously, as we talked about, the stakes were so high when he didn't even do anything wrong, you know? And now we're seeing, like, oh, okay, you actually are kind of a fuck up a little tiny bit. So, like, it's a little bit better, even though it makes your heart break a tiny bit for Jerry. You're just like, at least he, like, you know, actually messed up this time.
This, like, seems like the beginning, right? He's like, these people are going to make fun of me either way, right? And this is how they kind of cope with stuff. Because later on, we find out he's, you know, some of the stuff he does because they expect it of him, right? Because I think Ben goes to his house and he catches something that's knocked off the table, right? And Ben's like, what the hell? Like,
Leslie does that. Yeah,
it's Leslie. Okay,
but but Ben has those moments with him too because Ben really likes Jerry.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
which that's going to be great when we get there.
Okay, let's all pretend Jerry wasn't born.
When I saw this part and I saw the whiteboard, I wrote down in my notes, like, this is like visualizing project management. And I do a lot of project management in my job, kind of like, okay, who are the stakeholders? What are the next steps? What requests do we have to put in? Who do we need to keep updated? And I love that she's put this together and it's like, okay, this is going to be our roadmap. And then after this KABOOM meeting, she's like, get rid of it all.
Yeah.
But you can't.
Yeah, it's very metaphorical.
And then exactly. And then I also think, in a way, at the end, she's probably kind of glad that she couldn't erase it all.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, and just kind of working through that. And I think it comes up in another episode where I know it's come up in conversations I've had with you, Holly, where, when you think about government, I think a lot of times, even like in campaigning, the people that get a lot of people out to vote are the ones that are just like talking about really big picture ideas, and you're just trying to be inspiring and reach out. And really, when you get in the government, being able to balance and like push against, the organizational boundaries and work through the system, finding people who are really good at that is hard, and that want to work toward that objective. And so I really feel like that's kind of what this is, right? It's like her trying to figure out, okay, how do I work through the through the processes to get this thing done. And so I thought it was really interesting, because then after you come back from KABOOM, it's like, oh, we don't need any of this,
right?
And yeah, so
she's like on a honeymoon high or something.
Right, exactly.
And she has that line that, you guys, I know it's so like obvious and maybe like elementary, but I think it is my favorite line, because just her delivery, like we talked about, I think we said this in the last episode or the one before that, maybe it was practice date, where like if there was a best delivery, maybe we should do that too, or best delivery line or something instead of just best written line, because the way that Amy Poehler says this line of, I want to kaboom it. It just makes me laugh out loud no matter how many fucking times I see it. It's so hilarious. And I just think that's my favorite line, and I don't care.
Yeah, I love it.
I know. I think that is one of my favorite lines too. I just love it, because sometimes when I am at work, I literally want to do that. Like,
yes.
Because I mean, sometimes there's just like meeting after meeting, and, it's just like, okay, which ones do I really need to go to? Like, which ones are going to help me? Like, did the person running this meeting even prepare? Or are we just here to talk, to say we had a meeting? Like, and so, yeah, sometimes I'm just like, let's just get it done.
I know. Flip all the tables.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah. One of my previous coworkers actually like sent me that meme of the, like, flipping the desk.
Especially when you're working with a team too. I feel like that's also really hard, because your team has to be just as in it as you are, or you have to like find that balance of like, well, I care a lot about this, but do you care a lot about this, or are you pulling your weight, or whatever it is. And I know that you've had that kind of gridlock as well, Brookelynn, in your positions, where you're just like, well, what do I need to do to get you to be on the same like passion level, or not even passion,
right.
Like sometimes it's just like, doing your job, the end,
right yeah.
Or like thinking of the goal, not doing your job necessarily, maybe that's a wrong way to phrase it, but like thinking of your
fair.
Goal. Yeah, that's fair. I guess. But like thinking of like the goal at the end, and like I just feel like we lose sight of like, well, what are we really working toward?
Yeah, and I just felt like it was so real life. And then I think this is where she says, I never realized how frustrating it is to be in government. And she was like, maybe I'll go into private industry in another, like after this.
Right.
I can't remember where she said she was thinking of.
No, that comes up. So she talks about strip mining.
Strip mining, yes.
Yeah. I literally looked that up because I'd love to hear do you guys know what strip mining is? Or did you know before?
Yeah, I knew a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, say what you think it is, Brookelynn, and I'll tell you what the internet said.
Okay. Well, strip mining, you're actually just like kind of peeling back, layers of the earth to kind of get to, whether it's coal or whatever. And there's a lot of chemicals involved. It's for granite, rocks, sort of mineral, things like that. There's a lot of those around here, actually. And even Virginia, all over the place. So for gravel and stuff, like quarries and everything. So
did you say quarries? Is it quarry? Quarry?
Did I say it wrong? Quarry?
I thought it was quarry.
I've heard people say it both ways. I've heard it both ways.
It was just like in The Office, ladies chunk it.
Yeah. That's different.
Yeah, no, that is different. You're right. Okay.
Yeah, what does the internet
So strip
say?
mining is what Leslie says that she'll do in the private sector in her next life. Yes, okay. But yes, the internet said it's the practice of mining a seam of mineral by first removing a long strip of overlying soil and rock, which is the overburden is what the correct term of that is, evidently. But so it's referred to as overburden removal, and it's most commonly used to mine coal and lignite, which is brown coal, which I guess
another kind of coal. Yeah, it doesn't burn as clean.
Oh, Brookelyn, you're so freaking smart.
Yeah, damn.
Okay, well, she also has a couple years on us, but whatever.
I know. I just like to read about coal in my spare time. No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to say, wait, what?
No.
That's a thing I didn't know.
No. Some of the stuff that I have worked on is like some of the strip mining efforts and just energy security and climate stuff. So you see a lot of that coming because it can hurt like the water table if you don't do it right.
Interesting.
And so there's coal-fired power plants all over the world that are trying to source coal, and there's different grades of coal that burn at different rates and produce more. So.
Yeah. Okay,
but
cool.
I just thought it was really interesting to go into strip mine. Like,
yeah, that's the thing you're going to choose to do in your private sector life.
And it's not a KABOOM equivalent or any, like, it's not like an inspiring, it's like, right. It's like another, day in, day out kind of job.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I know. Maybe it's because you don't have to have as many, red tape. You just go in, do the job, and leave. I don't know.
maybe in some places.
I do love here also, side note, that I really had a reaction to this, Maddie, specifically to you, because I thought that when Anne says, I support you, and has like no other input because you're just on a roll and Leslie's just whatever. Yeah. I really, really thought of Maddie because that's what Maddie would do. I just support you. There's no other thing that I want to give you. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You got it.
I actually thought of my best friend to where I feel like Grace would be like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I support you. You don't know what it is, but okay.
Exactly.
Well, and that leads me to some of my favorite, one of my favorite parts of this episode that I think it's the same type of thing that Holly and I would do for each other. But so Mark takes Leslie out of the room, right, to kind of first of all calm her down, but also give her advice. Yes. And he's like, what are you willing to do? And she's like, I won't murder.
I know.
And then
Great
when
line.
she goes to get Anne to tell her what should I do, and Anne's like, I will do anything to help you and support you. And I was like, me and Holly, and then she's like, is it dangerous though? And I was like, well, we won't murder anyone.
I love that interaction.
It's so good. I laughed out loud.
I know, yeah. She asked for the details afterwards.
Right.
That's so hilarious.
That's accurate though, right? If you're like Maddie, I really need help with this, I wouldn't ask, well, Holly, are we going to be in danger? I would be like, yeah, let's do it. And then we're going to arrive somewhere and I'm like, wait, is this dangerous?
Right.
We won't murder anyone. I do think it's interesting, speaking of this, how Mark takes Leslie out. We talked about this before, but just building on the whole Ben thing, it seems very reminiscent of what Ben would do. Ben has done this a lot of times where he takes Leslie out and says okay, let's talk about this really fast. And so that just led me to think I do really want to know what kind of happened with Mark or why they wrote him out. I do see that he doesn't have a ton of trajectory later in later episodes. Right now he's in a good spot, I feel, but when we get there or in a couple episodes, you're just okay, he doesn't have a ton of places to go, but at the same time I want someone from the show to tell me what happened. That's all I have to say. You know?
I agree. I think it's beautiful though, because I think, we're seeing this friendship side of Mark again, where he's willing to, support Leslie. And I think you bringing that up, that correlation between how Mark's handling this versus how Ben would handle it, it's kind of the same, right?
Yeah.
Where we find this beauty that in Ben, Leslie found a really good friend.
Yeah.
That was also romantically compatible with her, because there's other things they get along with, but he fulfills that support part. And I wonder if that's even what made Leslie drawn to Mark in the first place, because I know it's easy to be attracted to someone who's there to support you, even if there's nothing really there.
Yes.
Because you're like, this person sees me, and they're like, they support who I am and all these decisions, and they want to help me. And it's, there's not a lot of people like that in the world anymore. So I wonder if that's kind of what drew her to him. And now that Ben kind of fulfills that as well, that friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And I also think that Mark didn't want to like tell Leslie to break the rules in front of everyone else, like so that he could be like, that's like the common thing, right? Like ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Sure. Right.
And so he was like, if I tell Leslie this in front of all these people,
that's true too. It doesn't come back to him. It doesn't come back and slap him.
Yeah,
because no one knows.
Exactly. Yeah. And I like when, because she's also kind of like confiding in him, and he's like, yeah, we could just do it like this or whatever. And she was saying something about like, she was like, I want to be a cheetah, not a slug. Well, maybe not as fast as a cheetah. Maybe a slug on a remote control car. I think that's fast.
Like, I have that line written too. Like, I love it.
Like it's like she doesn't want to do too much, but it's like, let's just speed up a little bit.
Right. I want to be a slug driving a remote control car.
It just makes me laugh.
Oh, what a visual.
Yes. And I wrote in my notes, one of my previous mentors in my job, she used to say the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I always remember that, because it's so true. If you're the one kind of making noise about something, especially in a bureaucracy, the one complaining, and we even see this too, like in the real world, right? The people that are speaking the loudest, complaining the loudest are the ones that we often write policy to or try to make happy, right? Because as humans, we don't like, most of us don't like conflict. So I think about that, when there's things and I'm like, what, this really needs to get done. And, sometimes I'll be like, okay, I am going to be the person that emails once a day until this gets done. Yep. Because, we all are so busy. Like, it's not necessarily personal. People don't want to follow through.
Right.
But there's so many other things going on. And if I'm the one there that's like picking up the phone, calling, or I stop by your desk, or I'm that annoying person that's in your inbox, there's like, okay, let me just get this one done.
Yeah.
And so you can go on with your day. Because there's all these steps, right? Like, and the bureaucracy is there for a reason. So I remind myself that, like, you don't want things to change too fast. So it's there to temper that. But there are some things, once you've been in it, where you're just like, okay, this, I need to push the envelope a little bit.
He's living a little bit through her, like you were talking about.
Yeah, you can definitely tell he's excited about it.
Yeah, he's finally excited about something. He's trying to encourage her and push her. And I think that's really true. And I love everything that you just said, because I think that it relates to so many different, careers and lives. Because that reminds me, when you were talking about it, it reminds me of acting / being a musician and stuff. Like when you want something done, especially like we were always told, when you have an agent, or if you have an audition, or maybe you even have a job that you want to follow up with, like you said, if you're not at the forefront of your agent's inbox, or your casting director's inbox, or whatever, casting directors, you don't need to bother them, like that's a whole other thing, like don't cross your boundaries, but but like especially agent, if you're not at the forefront telling them what you can do, or that you want auditions or whatever, like they have so many things in their inbox. It's not just it's not about like, I hate you, anything like that. No. It's just like, I forgot because I have 800,000 other documents on my desk. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and it's kind of also finding that balance of what is like tactful and respectful, as well as pushing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, and you just said like two different types of relationships. You know, you understand which one you can push the bounds on, and which ones you really shouldn't. And that's really what I tell a lot of the people that I mentor is like the process and the org chart is not like why we're here.
Yeah.
Like you are the reason this job gets done, and you're the reason why it can be great or not so great. And that's why you're paid to be here. So, and it's really hard. I think being like, you know, paid to work for the government, you know, you have to remember you are a public servant. Like, and, you know, sometimes that can feel constricting, but sometimes you have to remind yourself like, yeah, what I put into this is going to impact, you know, on the other end. So I try to tell like some of the people that I mentor when they're just kind of like frustrated with things. It's like, you know, you're doing it. You're doing the hard job. You're doing the hard stuff that a lot of people wouldn't be willing to go through these, you know, the process and the project management and go through all the steps. You know, they're there for a reason because something, you know, bad happened before or, you know, it didn't go the way. So you are the change. And it's hard to remind yourself that.
It
when
really
you're in
is.
it.
It's so exhausting.
Yeah.
It really is emotionally
It
hard.
is. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why sometimes like after work, I'll just come home and I'm like, I need to have a Leslie moment where she's just like amped up.
You get
and I'm
your
like,
bucket of cake.
yes. Exactly. Yeah. And even Leslie is like, when Mark is talking to her, she's like, well, so who gives me the go ahead to not ask for, do I tell Ron?
Right. Exactly. She's so entrenched in like, who do I ask?
Right.
I do have, Maddie, did you have anything to add?
No, my next note is when they're at the pit.
Okay, so I have a bit of a catch here, and I don't know if I was just too detail-oriented, but basically Anne is wearing the same shirt as she was wearing in the office, but Leslie has changed from her suit into a sweater.
Yeah, I've noted there's a wardrobe thing later as well, because the suit that Leslie is in with Mark, she is also wearing when Andy comes to Anne's house later.
Right. But then at the pit, she's in the sweater,
Right.
and then Anne is still in the same purple
stuff.
sweater.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow,
yeah, so a little bit of a continuity moment.
Great catch,
that I'm
guys.
not sure about.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, shouldn't they have emptied the pit in the first place? Like, wasn't there a lot of like shit in the pit that they should have taken out, or how does that work? Like, should they have taken out that shit, or were they just planning on covering it up anyway?
They're probably just planning on cover because like when you call up a guy to fill in I mean, they don't, you know, spray it. They're just like, here's the machinery that you ordered. Like, I'm just following the directions you gave me. They're not experts. They don't know how to do this.
Right. Yeah.
Like when you see them doing it later, right? Like Brooklyn's saying, they're spraying it down.
Yes.
It looks like they've gotten everything out. They have another machine down in the pit. I think that's probably doing something else that needs to be done. So yeah, I think that's a good point. Like she hired a machine and she hired a guy, which she wished she had known for prom.
I love that line.
went with it. It's great. This whole interaction between Anne and Leslie, I feel like is just a complete nugget of great back and forth.
I so agree with you, Maddie.
With the backhoe. Oh, we had a backhoe at school. Would let anybody massage her back. I was like, where was that going?
I know.
Like in my head.
Well, I was like, oh gosh, is this going to be like something like sexual, like backhoe? Like, is it going to get real dirty? And then it was just like, she would let anyone massage her back. Like, oh my God. I get it, backhoe.
Right. I love these hats as well that say kick ass.
Yes.
Oh my
So
gosh.
funny.
And it's so perfect when Anna's like, yeah, I'm going to take this one. She's
she's so quick about it. She's like, I know which one to take.
I'm not wearing the ass hat.
A literal ass hat.
Yeah. But I love how they're standing too, right? So it doesn't say kick ass when they're standing next to each other. It says ass kick.
Which so appropriate, right?
Yes. Yes, just going
my
with we are not
gosh.
following any rules. We have no care in the world right now. We're just trying to get this motherfucking pit filled.
Yes. And I love Leslie's like Russian accent or whatever she's
Oh my God.
Miss Montague.
It's like she kind of prepared like weirdly for that part. Like she knew there were some risks, but she didn't like think about all of the risks to like really pull this off. But she got that piece right.
Oh my God. So funny.
It's so funny. And then when she's like, standing there saying, like, we're doing something with the courage of 1,000 lions.
Mm-hmm.
Her response too, right? The dirt gets dropped on Andy. He freaks out. They're like, wait, what? Because, you know, they're like, well, I thought he wasn't living in the pit. And I guess he's not, right? He just went back for his headphones.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know the real story? I don't know if we know what really is happening. But when she takes her hard hat off and puts it on her heart. Like, oh no.
Take a knee.
Yeah, exactly. That's the equivalent of what that was to her. We're all taking a knee for Andy.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to know if that was a stuntman. I tried to look up to see who that was. If like, or if I don't think Chris Pratt would have done it, but maybe because I mean, it was really well done. Like it really looks like him, but you also don't see his face super clearly. So I do wonder, you know, what that was. Cause that, I mean, there are like rocks and hard shit probably in that dirt that really are painful. I thought they did a good job with like him at the hospital and his cuts and scrapes and things like that.
I was going to say that as well because they're very minor, right? Nothing big. They're very subtle. But if you look at him, it looks like he did get scraped up a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
My favorite line is here.
Okay.
When Anne comes in because there's a bunch of beeping.
Oh my God. I'm so excited. Okay. Go ahead.
And so she comes in because there's all this beeping and she's like, Andy, this machine is not a toy. Anything is a toy if you play with it.
I wrote that down too.
I love that line. That is my favorite one.
Good one.
Because I feel like it's accurate.
It is. Yes.
It's great.
So accurate.
It is, yeah.
It's such a child response.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I was going to say it's very childish. Like his little talking head is so cute too. He's like hugging his little pillow. So precious. He's so excited. The pit works in mysterious ways.
Yes, that's a good one too.
I like that line.
Right,
That's probably my second, like my runner-up
Yes.
moment.
Nice.
Yes. I also laughed out loud when he was explaining why he was in there to like go back to get his headphones, and he was like, I saw a cereal box
I hadn't read before.
And I dozed off.
So Andy.
Woo.
This is the thing, right? I can totally believe he's still living in the pit. I can believe that being the option.
Yeah,
but I can
too.
also completely believe that he went there to get headphones and fell asleep reading a cereal box.
Right.
It's just who Andy is. They're both logical explanations in the realm of Andy.
Yes,
exactly.
100,000%.
So true. Oh my gosh. And it's like she went out on this limb to like try to do something. And like he could have not been in there. Like it could have worked most of the way. But Andy was in the exact spot. Like it's like, what is the Murphy's Law? Like what can go wrong will go wrong, right? Like, and you're just like, oh, why were you there?
Yep. The exact spot. And what happened to his tent? I guess if he was going back for his headphones or whatever, like he wouldn't be sleeping in the tent. But yeah. I thought.
But to you guys' point, like someone probably should have gone in there and like taken out like the random tarps and trash before they tried
that
filling
can't be good for the earth.
Right.
Yeah, and if you just put a bunch of dirt like that, like the ground will also sink. Like so
it's actually a good thing for all of Pawnee that Andy was there so that it could get filled in properly.
Yes, especially how this plays out.
Yes.
Andy saved Pawnee. He saved
He did.
Yes.
Oh.
King Andy. Well, now I'm back at City Hall if everyone else is.
Yeah, I have
me too.
Leslie, who's very proud of herself, and Ron, who has just the domineering tone and also the laziness of not getting up to go get Leslie. He just screams across the office for her to come over there, and she walks in like so confident. She's like,
yes,
even though like I think this is the thing, right? It's not that the pit got filled in because it didn't. She's confident because she broke a rule. She stepped out of her boundaries. She feels like almost a new person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is what we were talking about at the beginning, right? Using "ka" at the beginning of things. Ron just has this beautiful, I hate to burst your kabubble, but I just got my ass handed to me, and the whole department is ka-screwed. Like,
what the beep
right.
were you thinking?
Which that's 2 beeps in this episode because Andy says what the beep when the dirt goes down. So I'm like, that's 2 in an episode, and we don't get them very often.
I love the beeps. They're so greatly placed.
They are.
So funny.
Worth it to have 2.
Totally.
So perfect.
And then poor little Leslie just breaks down immediately. so sorry.
I think some of that bravery stays because as we go in the series, I think she does grow a little bit more into that. You know, I have the power to at least do something, right? Not sit and wait for things.
Yeah.
But she does crumble back down. And Ron has this great line, like, I would have preferred if she had come and asked me so I could say no. I like saying no. It lowers their enthusiasm.
Yes. I have that line written down too.
I love Ron.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Maddie. Yeah, like with any job, you know, the longer that you're there, you know what bounds you can push a little bit more, and you kind of have to grow that confidence a little bit. And it's really weird at first, and clearly I think season 6 Leslie, if she was going to do this, she would have known what research to do ahead of time, right?
Yeah, she would have had a binder
and
about
she could have
it.
still pushed for it, right?
Amen.
Yeah, exactly. But I love when like we zoom back in at City Hall, she's like, what's my crime? Like, so amped up.
Yeah. She also just has so much respect
She
for
does,
Ron too, right?
yes.
So now that Ron's gotten kind of in trouble because of what she's done, I think she has a lot of disappointment in herself for that too, and she blames herself. But
yes.
Well, you guys, I have a deleted scene really fast
Oh,
that I have
yes,
to play
please.
for you because so Marlene comes into this episode because Leslie's talking to her mom about her breaking the rules, and her mom is like, "Why would you ever cut through red tape? Like that's what it's there for," kind of thing. And she's like kind of on the like off side of Leslie, but it's really funny, and so I recorded it and I will play it for you at this moment. Hold please.
Honey, don't you know why red tape was invented? To cover your ass. Red tape is our pants.
Mom, I went rogue. I went cowboy. Now I have to find a way to go reverse cowboy.
Leslie, please, you don't even know what that means. What are you trying to say?
Kaboom.
Oh, come on. Not those clowns. They don't know the first thing about our world.
I built a playground in a day. A day. It was like your stories of cocaine.
Leslie, those were different times. Everyone in government was doing cocaine. It was like Snapple. And the money went straight to the CIA to kaboom the Contras.
Mom, that's not what kaboom means.
Well, what does it mean then?
I don't know anymore.
Well, you're in a pickle.
Oh my god.
oh my gosh, why would you cut that? Why?
Wasn't that golden? I don't know, man.
I'm so mad about that.
Like,
Well, cut the cocaine part out. Even the first 20 seconds was fire.
I know. Yes.
oh my god, it's so like the reverse cowboy. I have to figure out.
And the red tape is our pants.
Yes. I know. I think that this is one of those maybe the first one where I almost want to pick a favorite line from a deleted scene.
I know. Yeah.
Do it. There are no rules. We create this shit. It's our rules.
That's true. Good call.
Yeah, and that's
but I just
such a funnier way to say what I just said about the red tape and the bureaucracy being there for a reason, because something bad probably happened before. So I really like that. The red tape is our pants.
There to cover your ass.
Okay, that's how I look at every sign I see now, right? Because we own a restaurant, and so we have to put signs up places because people do stuff. Mm-hmm. We have these really nice metal plates, and we literally had to make a sign that said, "Do not throw away metal trays."
Oh
Because
my
people are throwing them away. Which
What?
Why?
But I was like, I got there the day we printed it, and I was like, it makes me so sad that we have to have this here. But now every time I see a sign in any restaurant or grocery store, I'm like, some idiot did that, and that's why the sign is there.
This is insurance for
Right,
people that, because people are still going to break the rule. Like, somebody's still going to try to throw one of those things away, and you're going to be like,
Right.
Yep.
It's like the people that get upset because in the US at national parks there's like little fences at the edges of cliffs because people fall off of them. They go up to the edge and they try to take a selfie with the cliff behind them. People die like that every year. So
People die.
I know,
That's
it's
insane.
crazy. Yeah, I do know. I mean, I'm trying to imagine with the cocaine comment. I'm trying to imagine a time, in the 60s and 70s, like a Mad Men kind of environment or something. But that's really hard for me to picture.
I know. Ugh, well, I'm now at the hospital as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have the attorney is running after Leslie, right? She's got that cute little pig. I hope you squeal better.
Oh, I love that pig.
It's so cute. He is played by Harry John Benjamin.
Yes, love him.
And yeah, I didn't look at anything that he had done. I was so enamored with his performance. Because
He is so good.
oh, he does a beautiful job. I think the whole and I taking notes on this episode, I think I realized how great of an episode it is because there's so many little nuggets of back and forth
Yeah.
where I can't write everything down that happened. That was amazing because
I
there's
know.
just so much, and it was so. I mean, my dad's a lawyer, and I mean, he works in contracts now, so it's not so much like this. But, you know, when
Yeah.
he reads contracts or when he's telling me when he's reading my contracts that I'm going to sign for work or whatever, he's like, well, this language and this language. And so like literally he's like, yeah, you can't say there was a situation because then that implies there was a situation. Like all this, like all the legalities of it. And it's so good. Nope. Can't say you're sorry. Nope. Can't say victim. Can't say, you know, all this stuff. She says,
Can't say situation.
yeah. And he says
The word situation.
Right. Then she says the government. And he's like, no.
Right.
It's so good. And she's all like, sad face. I'm sorry. And he's like, no miming.
No rhyming. That just reminds me of Dinner Party in the Office.
Yes. No rhyming. Arnold Schwarzenegger, which isn't even a fucking rhyme.
Tom Cruise. Well, so H. John Benjamin is an amazing voice actor. He is a huge actor. He's done a bunch of voiceovers. So
Nice.
he's Bob on Bob's Burgers. He's in Archer, Family Guy,
No way,
Aqua
it's
Teen
that
Hunger
guy?
Force. Yes.
What the heck? I've got to text my brother because he's obsessed
Yes.
with him. Because he's
Oh
the
my
main
God.
guy in Archer. He's Archer.
Yes, he is Archer. Yep.
Yep.
Sweet.
And he, like, you'll recognize, now that you've noticed that or know that, you will recognize his voice from a mile away. He's phenomenal.
He's the Arby's guy. We have the meats.
Oh, yeah. I think he did. Yeah. I didn't
I didn't
I
realize
wonder
he
if he
did
still
that,
does
too.
that.
Yeah, that's how I connected it because I love that guy, and my brother and I quote it sometimes, and he goes, "Oh, that's the guy that
Okay.
voices Archer and Bob from Bob's Burgers," and I never put together
Yes.
that it's the attorney in this episode.
Yeah,
Yep.
he does so many cameos. And now that, you know, when I learned that, because I'd watched Archer and then we love Bob's Burgers. And I love Bob so much. And then I saw him in another movie and my husband was like, oh yeah, that's Bob. And now I see him in so many cameos. I love
wild.
it. I love his kind of like gravelly like tone when he's just like, oh my God. Like, it's just so perfect.
It really, truly is. Oh, my God. Well, I was going to ask, did you ever watch Wet Hot American Summer?
Oh, yeah.
Because he's also, okay, well, he's in that. You should watch it. It's on Netflix if you haven't seen it. He plays like the can of corn or the can of soup. He's in it for a brief moment,
Yes.
and then he dies and comes back as a can of soup.
Yeah.
Wet Hot American Summer, big Judd Apatow, Paul
Yeah.
Feig, like, I think Paul Feig, but definitely Judd Apatow reunion. Amy Poehler's in it. Adam Scott, a.k.a. Ben, is in it. So many people. SNL reunion, like definitely that comedy universe. So a lot of people don't like Wet Hot American. Oh, Paul Rudd is in it as well.
That's what I was going to
yeah.
ask. I thought I saw him on the trailer.
Yeah. A lot of people aren't super into it, but it is exactly my type of humor. It's so stupid, so
It
funny, so hilarious. They're all at this camp and they're all clearly adults doing this like really kid thing, and there are kids in the camp as well for like the next one, I think, because there's 2 or something, and so like in the first one they are the campers, and the second one they have the kids are the campers, and then they're like the counselors or whatever the hell. So good. I also love Michael Ian Black, who used to be in the I Love the 90s like VH1 videos. He's also in that. He's a comedian. He's so funny. But anyway, so yes, H. John Benjamin, like, hats off. We love it.
Yeah, because I think the original one came out in like the 80s, 90s, and so they were like they did a reboot. Like a reboot of it with them as the camp counselors, and it's really cheesy.
Right. Right. And what's his face too? A Star Is Born. Oh God.
Bradley Cooper.
Thank you.
Oh,
yes, he's
yes,
in it too.
he is. He's really funny in it.
And Chris Pine, what the fuck, is in it
damn.
as the guitar player, like sexy guy. Like it's so star-studded.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Bradley Cooper has quite a range, if you ask me.
Oh, he can do
Like
anything.
drama. He plays the raccoon in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
He's just got such a range. I've been incredibly impressed with him because I think I saw him first a couple times in romantic comedies, and then when I saw him in American Sniper, I was like, oh shoot, this guy, guy has
really
got
different.
it. Yeah,
Next
he's great.
But going back to the show, I do love that that John Benjamin. I love John Benjamin is his name / Scott Braddock, the city attorney. I love his run into the hospital. It's one of those Tom runs where like the camera's like really far away and he runs for a good like 3 seconds before he actually lands on the camera. That's really hilarious.
Yeah.
Also, we skipped over really briefly, though. Like, I love this moment of when Andy asks, like, what does Mark have that I don't have?
Yes.
Literally everything.
2 pairs of a second pair of shoes. That's what she says. I feel like everyone on this planet has a second pair of shoes. If you know,
I know.
like, damn.
Oh, my God.
The bar
I
is
love
so
that.
low.
But actually.
It is. It actually made me think, I wrote in the comments, like I have been talking with a lot of my girlfriends, some of them, are single and like dating and trying to like find, people on like dating apps and stuff. And I always think about this. I'm like, there are so many just outstanding female friends that I have that are just like killing it at work, at life. They're so responsible. And the dating pool, you're just like, why aren't they on the same level?
relate.
I don't understand. And I know we've talked about that too, Holly, right? And you're just like, I look at all of my girlfriends and I'm like, these are real catches, okay? I don't understand what's happening here. And then this interaction just reminds me where Anne is literally just saying, he had an address, he has a job, a second pair of shoes. And they dated for 2.5 years.
Like they were a damn long time. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole other
my
situation,
gosh.
Where Anne was a caretaker and just kind of like decided to stay comfortable in it. But the hospital has a weird effect on Andy and Anne. They truly do. I feel like one of them always falls for each other in that hospital in the future moments that we will get to later. But yeah.
Well, I was just going to say the attorney.
Yeah.
One thing that I loved is that he says the pig is fine.
I wrote that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's such a good line. But I think they did a really great job in wardrobe because a lot of times in TV shows we have lawyers that are presented like have you ever seen Suits?
No, but I've heard of it.
It's great. It's a TV show about a law firm.
Okay.
And they're really spick and span, have really nice suits, are really clean. Mm-hmm. But, then you have this government attorney and his tie doesn't look like it's all the way done. His suit looks a little too big for him. It looks like they've made his makeup so his eyes look really tired.
Yes.
So, I don't know if it's painting him in the government worker light.
I think it is.
Or if it's just like he's so stressed out right now. Like, this is what he looks
Probably
like.
both.
But I thought they did a great job of putting that together for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because working at a law firm for civil cases is very different than being like a public defender or being hired by the government. Like, so like all hands down to that. I mean, they're just amazing. I have some friends who used to be public defenders, and just the amount of work and the things that they do for just people who are trying to defend and providing legal services. It just, I can't imagine. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think sometimes my job feels stressful, but man, like they are doing the work of some good work. So I can see that look.
Yeah. Well, and first of all, John Benjamin just kind of has like a droopy look anyway, I feel.
Yeah, so really well cast, right? Like they don't...
Yeah. Well, anyway, so you think of the gridlock in the government, and then you add on top of that like all the legalese and like bullshit that you have to go on top of. It's just like so much, I feel that it would be.
Yeah, because people are trying to sue the government all the time. They're just like, and most of the time the government is going to find some way to settle with money. And so there's a lot of like thought put into, okay, how do we protect ourselves? So working with legal is like a whole other thing. And I like when she asked, like, is that all you think about it is legalese? And he's like, yes.
Yeah.
One of my other favorite lines is when Leslie is walking into the hospital before the lawyer like runs up, and she's like, you know what? You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. I mean, what would you get? We can't have a world where there's no omelets at all. Who would be happy about that? I guess maybe birds, because then they would have all their babies.
That's a great line.
Like, there's so many little, like nuggets like that. Those wise
Jokes.
Words of, don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness. Like, you got to break a couple of eggs to make an omelet. And then Leslie just takes them like, where's your train of thought even going?
Totally.
Right.
Yeah, like where did your brain happen to go in that moment?
So the writers, or if that was improv,
It's hilarious.
It's just really good.
I wondered how much of the attorney's stuff was improv.
That's a good question.
Yeah, unfortunately, there was no commentary on this one, so I can't tell you. And
Sad
a lot
day.
of times, Wikipedia or other research will tell me some improv lines. But I think a lot of this, just from my experience having heard the commentary, this might have been some scripted stuff, and then they might have added it in. But yeah, I mean, who's to say? I also really love that they're laughing at this pig so much. They're like, and then the lawyer has to cut them off laughing. And I also like Andy's lawyer. You guys, I have a quick question for you. Okay, so first of all, this guy's name is Wendell Adams, Andy's lawyer. And I wonder where Andy got this idea, because I don't feel that it tracks that he would be smart enough to know to hire a lawyer, but maybe someone reached out to him. I'm thinking that the lawyer reached out to him maybe when he found out that this happened, but I'm just curious.
So this is where my thought process takes me, because I agree. I don't think he's smart enough to be sitting in the bed and be like, I need money, right? But there are always those billboards or those infomercials on TV that are like, if you've been injured by this, call the offices of JP Albini or whatever. You know? So I'm wondering if he saw one of those and it was in his head, because a lot of times they'll say, we can get you a settlement up to this much money.
Yeah.
So he that would be where my brain goes, that he had any information that was an option for him.
Yeah, and I think sometimes too, when you get into an accident, or even the hospital staff might have even asked, will you be pressing charges? Because then they kind of proceed differently with how they write up the incident that happened. So someone might have also mentioned, are you going to be pressing charges?
Yeah.
And I could see Andy being like, what? Oh. And like
Good point.
Maddie said,
Good point.
you could get up to however many thousands of dollars. So I could see that kind of sparking something. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Side note, Chris Tallman is the name of this actor. He's been in a bunch of Reno 911, evidently, Sarah Silverman program, some UCB shorts, which is exciting. But he also plays the dad. He's the lead in the Thundermans on Nickelodeon, where the kids have superpowers. It's a Nickelodeon superhero TV show. I thought that was interesting. I don't know that our audience cares about that, but I thought it was really interesting because I just thought his pictures were really funny when I was looking him up on IMDb. So cute. But now I'm at City Hall, where Leslie is leaving this montage, or having this montage of leaving messages for Andy.
oh my gosh, this is one of my favorite parts.
I would say I have two things about this. Her machine voice
I wrote that.
is on point, though. I would straight up believe that was a machine.
Andy Dwyer.
Yeah. Pawnee, City Hall. She does such a good. And then Tom's standing there well, that was weird. It's so good. But the other thing is I mean, we know he has a phone, but how does he not have a second pair of shoes, but he can afford a phone?
Right.
Good question.
Is he still on Anne's plan?
Maybe.
Has Anne just not remembered or cared enough to go take him off? I
Might
don't
be.
know.
Or maybe he just thinks a phone is more important than shoes. I don't know. Priorities.
That's fair too.
I mean, he doesn't have a job though, so I think Maddie might be onto something that he's on Anne's
You're right.
plan.
How is he paying for the bill?
How is he paying for it? Yeah. And his idea of making money with music, he says, I'll make $6 a day. No, I won't. So he's not making enough money
I can't make
for his
$6 a day.
phone bill. Maybe in 2009, though. How much was a phone bill in 2009 versus today, where we're paying so much money?
Right.
That's true. It's still more than $6.
Yeah, fair point.
I wrote down like all the ones that she had, and I really love, like, I feel like she had just finished reading like a book about spies or something when she's like, place a white chalk X on the mailbox and only I will know what it means. Like,
yes.
And then I love her accent when she pretends to be Andy's aunt. It's your aunt. Your
has passed. We're having a thing at City Hall.
Your mother or father's sister.
in 20 minutes.
Oh my
It's
god.
so sad.
Free guitars at City Hall. Oh my god.
The thing is, though, Andy is dumb enough, he would probably
Right.
take that as a legit invitation.
And she's like literally actually running by the phone.
This is one of those moments where I just really commend. I think I think Dean Holland did most of them. He was the editor who later will, I think next episode he's the director, but regardless, like when we were in the scene at JJ's with Shauna Malwae-Tweep where we were talking about like the Pope and all those different cuts, like I wonder if this is the same situation, because in that particular scene it was supposed to be an either or. They were going to choose one line to do or to air, to actually choose, but then Dean Holland was like, all of these are golden, we need to use all of them. So then he cut them together really fast, or like laid them over each other kind of thing. So I do wonder how much of this was actually scripted, or like how much was maybe a deleted scene that they were just like, we have to put all of them in there. Like, I'm curious about that, you know?
That's awesome. That's a good question for if you get one of the producers on.
Yes. Oh, Dean Holland is at the top of my list. I swear, Dean, I'll get you.
I'll get you.
Also, side note, okay, I was thinking about this. Did you guys ever do this in middle school? Maybe this was a stupid thing that we did in my middle school, but like when we all got cell phones for the first time, I think mine was in 8th grade and some other people's were either before that or in 9th grade. And we would leave outgoing messages on our cell phones, like pretending that we picked up, because Chris Pratt / Andy does that. He's like, hey, what? Psych, gotcha. Leave a message. And I remember one time, oh my God, Brookelyn, Dad was so mad at me because I had I had my voice memo or my voice message like, hey, I can't hear you. What? Oh my God. I can't hear you. And I was like so sassy in it. And then I turned and I was like, just kidding. And Dad like thought that it was like for real. He didn't get to the end of the message.
I think I remember that. I think I do remember you telling me something about this.
That's amazing.
And he was just like, why are you getting so short with me? Don't get short with me like that. And I'm like, Dad, it was a fucking joke. Like, did you... But that was like such a thing. Everyone had that, I remember.
It was a thing. It really was. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I never did it on mine, but I remember being annoyed by it many times by others because I'm like, dang it. And some people would like leave it be silent for like a long time. And then it would beep after you finish talking and oh my God.
I know. It really was obnoxious. I'm so sorry for anyone that did that. But Dad was just like, calm down.
Oh,
that never reached me.
Really? Well, wait.
Yeah.
Were you in China at that time?
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
But still,
That's always the question, isn't it, Holly?
It is. Like, well,
But like, were you even here?
were you in America? Did our dumbass like shit from middle school go overseas?
No, it did not make it. And I mean, I had a cell phone starting in 6th grade, and I will tell you the only reason I had one before I turned 17 was because I lived in a foreign country.
Yeah.
And my parents, it was like a safety thing. So, and I think that was the same thing for most of us. So it wasn't like a play with toy. We all had like really shitty, like the Pebbles or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think my first iPhone I ever got was when I was like 17 or 18.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they were purely for survival.
Right.
So
Yeah. I had I think you could still buy them in gas stations, like these Virgin Mobile phones.
Yeah.
You just like take them off of like the rack, like next to like the candy bars, and you're like,
It was like basically a burner phone, but yours was like for real.
yeah, it was.
Right. You had to use it.
You would call it a burner phone now, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would do the thing where I would like call people because I never had any money on my cell phone plan. I'd be like, hey, I need you to call me right back, and like hang up. And then because if they called me, it charged their cell phone plan. So I didn't have to use my minutes. So I remember doing that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not playing around with this thing.
Oh, I remember that so well, going to the 7-Eleven with you to get
to top up your minutes.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Big
I had to do that too. You went and you bought a certain amount of minutes and you'd have to call the number and put in the PIN and
Yeah, and do the whole
Craziness.
thing. Now it's so much easier.
Yeah,
I feel like you just like dial like, star a couple of numbers and like it's all linked. But and that was rough.
What a life we lived.
I remember talking to Mom and I'd be like talking and I'm like, okay, my phone's gonna cut off, and like so many times in the middle of the conversation it's just you're out of minutes. You're
so
done.
fucked.
Yeah.
Well, I'm back at Anne's house now with a huge moment that's coming up.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I love that Andy has the balls to show up naked. And
Literally
Right.
balls.
Oh, yeah, literally. And I'm Anne, hardcore. I would have been out of the door. I would have been like, yep.
Right.
Peace. Bye.
Oh my
And Lex
God.
is like, wait.
I love this line of you're dealing with a grown man who thinks like a gopher.
Yeah.
True.
And I love that we started this like back at the playground where it all started, and we hear Anne leaving this voicemail. And then when Andy is in here, he's like, well, the way that you said it, I thought like,
We need to talk. Also, you guys, I have a really big like moment that I have to tell you that is so hilarious. So Chris Pratt was actually naked.
No.
Like he did not have anything on.
Were they prepared
Usually-
for that?
No, so that's the thing. So he improvised that to fuck with them because, first of all, Mike Schur said that I think that he's kind of like the equivalent of Dwight / Rainn Wilson, because you know how they talk about how Rainn Wilson just loves to take his clothes off, and like he has a lot of scenes where he takes his clothes
Right.
off. Andy, I think / Chris Pratt is very similar in that sense, but basically, Hollywood break, if you're doing a naked thing, then you have some sort of like pasty or like nude colored underwear or something so that they can blur it out and it's like not as, they can special effects it later. But Andy / Chris Pratt said that he wasn't getting the reaction that he wanted to get from Leslie and Anne. So he just showed up. And like, so when you see the reaction of Leslie, that is really her reacting to seeing Chris Pratt's penis. And you can see it. And like, I was like doing some research on this and I was wondering, when I read that in my research, I was like, is that like, that's probably not good to do on a film set, like when you've got like lawyers and stuff as well that we're talking about. And
that's a really
Right?
good
like, is that the equivalent of like assault? But no. And then like, but so, because there are laws against like flashing and shit like that. But
Yeah.
so he's quoted as saying, this is Chris Pratt saying, I got a letter from NBC's HR department that said, there is a protocol about nude scenes. This is not a joke and you're being reprimanded and you can't go around telling people about this like it's some kind of joke. And then in Chris Pratt fashion, he framed the letter, apparently, allegedly.
Yes.
And, but yeah, he was just like taking a huge risk because he's like, I'm just not getting the reaction that I want to get from them. But so I'm just going to like do it. He didn't tell anybody. And so when they opened the door, that was like, that was real. Isn't that crazy?
I had read that before. And
Okay.
because Leslie is like speechless and she even looks at the camera like, what's my next line? Like,
Yeah. She is so speechless. Anne seems to like, I don't know, maybe they cut it a little bit, but Anne seems to be like,
Yeah,
not dealing with this. But like her acting is so good, so maybe that really paid off.
it does. It's like Anne plays it so well. Like Rashida Jones just plays it like this is par for the course. He's naked all the time. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. That's so real.
Yeah.
but I didn't even think you're right about like the flashing thing because out of context that could have been real bad.
Yeah, like if you weren't good friend, or if it wasn't like comedy, or
Yeah.
it wasn't Amy Poehler and Rashida Jones, like it could have gone the wrong way for sure. Like if you didn't have that team.
Yeah, but they just had that like
Dynamic.
vibe with each other.
Oh my God.
He was like, this is a safe space. I'm going
Right.
to try.
So there is a deleted scene that I wanted to play for you where it's not as good as the first one, I don't think, but I do think it's funny where Anne is telling Mark they're on a date and and she's telling him about what happened. So I'll play this for you.
Totally naked.
This is rock bottom.
Man, he must be very confident.
He's dead to me. He's dead to me.
How long do you think he walked naked down the street? Where did he stash his clothes? How much did Leslie see?
Stop.
that vibe from the rest of the episode that Anne's like, he's dead to me. Like, that seems a little extreme. Although I understand, in the moment why she says that. But I also think it's hilarious to see the dynamic of Mark just being so fascinated and like so whimsied by it.
Yeah. Right. What are the logistics behind this?
Oh my gosh, that is really funny.
Well, I love here we see Andy and Leslie, the relationship kind of begin, because we have kind of like an older sister, younger brother type relationship, I feel like, between them. And she does a lot to, help him. And we even have him say that later, right? Leslie has done so much to help me. And this kind of is the beginning. And I think that's really cool. Because he's then building connections in the parks department that are not only Anne, that helps him stay around legitimately.
Yeah,
for the
absolutely.
show,
yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like she becomes a mentor, Right.
Well, and I love this too when they show up at the office and they're going to talk to the lawyer. Andy has the same type of contraption that Leslie had on when she fell in the pit. So I'm wondering if she's like, we got to make this look legit. Let's get an airplane pillow and mask tape it to the front.
Yes.
Because that's what she did. That's what she did when she shows up to work the next day after she falls in the pit. It's the same thing. It's an airplane pillow. So I was like, I
know.
I bet she did. That was her idea.
I so agree with you. I like, too, that she has, this is the first time I think that I've seen that she comes up with an idea on the spot. Like, this is a very Leslie thing for her to be like, wait a second. I think I just thought of something that is a plan. You know what I mean? So I really like that they're showing that as well. There is a whole deleted scene as well here where Andy and Leslie are talking about, she respects Mark because he has a job and, it's not just like I'm just getting $100 bajillion like, gifted to me. And so Andy's like, yeah, but she'll respect my Porsche that I live in when I buy a new car to live in. And it's just nice. It's such a good layer of detail. That probably was improv too. I don't know. Pratt's so good at that. But anyway.
Like, that's the height of your dream is like
living in a Porsche.
I'll just get a nicer car to live in.
Yes. Yeah. Well, so now I'm back in the conference room. Like you were talking about, Andy wants a guaranteed starting spot in the Indianapolis Colts.
This is my thing here. He says first, and then he lists the pit thing. And then he pauses, and the attorney's like, okay, is there a second one? And he goes, 2, and then he lists it. And the way that Leslie responds, I don't think they planned on having him have more than just one thing in the settlement. I think he started with one on accident and then was like, oh, crap, I need a second thing. Oh, Andy.
So funny.
You're right, Maddie, because then Leslie's like, I don't think
he cares so much.
Andy cares as much for the second one.
Right.
But I love that, like, it kind of comes full circle now, like we were saying before, because now she's like, I have found a way to kaboom this in my own way. Because you see Wendell, the lawyer, say, okay, we'll get it. All right, eventually we'll do it. It's like still that kind of slow to move kind of thing, even with this lawsuit. And she's figured out a way to like get Andy to say, no, I want it now, or I will threaten to continue to sue you.
I could have fallen in the pit 10 times before eventually.
Yes.
Good thinking.
Exactly.
It's perfect.
And yay, the city is feeling in the pit. So I love this beautiful shot here of we're finally doing it. Leslie's hair looks nice here, I wrote. I don't know why, but I guess I really liked it at this point.
I love Leslie's hair so much.
I really liked it here, and I liked it when they were kabooming as well, because she had that, like, the little twirlies out around her face, but it was pulled in a ponytail.
I do like eventually, though, this is a side tangent a bit, but I do like that eventually they let her roots grow out a little bit, because right now it looks so dyed. You know what I mean? To me.
Yeah.
And I love her with blonde hair, but I think it looks really good where, like, in later season, it almost looks like a balayage kind of moment where it's like the roots are kind of brown, but then like it's blonde at the end. So anyways.
I really love Leslie's hair so much. And I was like, how do I curl my hair like that? And I could only find one interview with this stylist. And she only talks about doing Leslie's hair, Anne's hair, and Chris Traeger's hair.
Nice. Of course somebody does Chris Traeger's hair.
Yeah, and but it's so funny. It's like her little interview is like, I just take some gel and just give him this spiky boyish look. And I'm like,
Accurate.
Will you please send me that interview so I can reach out to her?
Well, yeah, I'll send. I mean, it's just like a transcribed thing, and she talks about a specific type of curling iron that she used on Leslie's hair, and I was like, whoa, that's way too advanced for me.
I think about that all the time, though, in this show, where I'm just like, because Leslie's hair looks so perfectly curled, and I'm like, I don't have time to curl my hair before work, but I guess like that tracks for Leslie's character because she likes everything to be perfect and everything.
Yeah.
But that's always how it is in TV shows. You're like, are you really wearing a full makeup thing in your day job?
Yes. Well, and I've also looked up things for like Leslie and Anne's outfits because I also love the wardrobe. And there's all these articles that are like, you know, they work for the city government, but some of the clothes that like people have researched like where those shirts or whatever are actually from, and they're like, they cost like $1,000. Like there's no way they would actually be able to afford. But on my Stitch Fix, I am like, Leslie Knope, and like this is my kind of like vibe for clothes to send me.
Love that.
There's an app that Ivan found the other day because I always find characters and I'm like, oh, I love their wardrobe. And you can look up characters in this app, and then it'll show you some of their top white wardrobes, and then you click on it and the app calculates how you can get something that looks similar, but that it's like more than half off what the actual outfit would cost.
Sure.
Great
I'll find
job,
it and send
app
it to
developers.
You. Yeah, I was
Seriously,
like,
what a
damn.
good idea.
Yeah, I'll have to find out what it's called, but it was really cool.
Totally.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I did talk to Kirsten Mann or Mon. Shit, I forgot. I'm going to have to edit that out. But anyway, I did talk to no, I won't. I'll leave it in. But I did talk to Kirsten, who did she didn't do the first 2 seasons of Wardrobe, but she did the last seasons, and she wants to come on. So she's on a really busy show right now, so she probably won't be able to come on for like another 3 or 4 weeks. But like, I'm so excited because I read a couple of interviews with her, and like she did the wedding dress with the newspapers and things like that for Leslie, and you know, so like the red dress that she wears to the actual ceremony or whatever afterwards. Like it's really cool. So I'm really intrigued, but I also am just so intrigued about like the style and the input that the characters had, because I do think that Amy Poehler had some. We've talked about this a little bit, but like she clearly has more of like a chic professional like bitch look, you know what I mean? Like, which I love. So I love it. It brings such a different level to it. When you really think about it, when you're just watching it, not analyzing it, it's like, okay, whatever. But like when you really think about it, it makes such a huge difference.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. And like the makeup and all that stuff, it all just comes together and it just makes the character.
Right. So now Anne and Leslie are standing in the pit, and you see they're both different perspectives. It's so hilarious about their both lines. Like, are you thinking what I'm thinking? We have so much more work to do. We're so close.
I love this though, seeing them stand on the
beautiful
pit,
shot.
Right. It's just like this symbolic moment of, okay, one step, because now we can stand here, not fall in it, you know. I think that's a beautiful moment.
Yep, that's so well done.
I love that too. Yeah, and I love the different perspectives, right?
Yes.
Between the both of them, like, and it's kind of like you need both of those perspectives at different times. So it just kind of really fits so well with like their friendship and the fact that they've like, you know, balanced each other out like so far.
And then we learned that KABOOM was a prank. We're now on the tag.
Which like what the heck?
I tried looking up where this lake or ocean or whatever the fuck. I don't know where they filmed this. I want to know where it is, but I couldn't find it. So
interesting.
It reminds me of like, you know, when you watch like these documentaries about these companies that, you know, like the I think like WeWork was one, or that like Fire Festival thing, where like these guys, they have that kind of cult of personality, and you know, you just like some of those, they just have these shots of them just like riding off into the sunset, and you're just like, but it's like such a play on it because
it's a good thing,
like it's a good scam.
Yes. I love that.
It's so crazy. I love it too.
I love that he's going to go build a hospital in China. Is it a hospital or is it a school? What is
hospital? I thought it was a hospital. Yeah, I had hospital written down.
One of my favorite things before we get to that scene, though, is when we come back to Leslie and she's kind of like reflecting on this whole process, and she's just like, you know, it's just waves of pleasure through my body. And And she's like, if only there was something physical that could make me feel
I love that. I wrote that too. I skipped over that.
That is like one of my favorite parts of the episode too, because you're just like, oh, Leslie. Like, it's going back to what you guys were talking about, the character development of Leslie, where she's like growing, but then we just see this kind of falling back to being really
100%. A little back to being a kid, a little naive moment. So funny.
Oh, that is such a good part. I love that.
Well, what other notes do you guys have? Because I'm wrapped up here.
I'm done.
Me too.
Oh my God! We did Kaboom!
Yay!
I'm going to add so much canned applause in this episode.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Yes. Kaboom, kaboom, kaboom.
Yes! Well, Brookelyn, thank you so much for joining us.
It's so much fun to have you with us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I love the perspective that you bring. It's so nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I have texted Holly many times where I'm just like, sometimes I just come home and just watch Leslie and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can channel this person. Like, I can go to work another day if I have this perspective.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And we also really appreciate you listening to the podcast too. I really love when you text us about it, and when I send things that you say to Maddie as well. So we really appreciate your listenership.
Yes. I'm almost caught up. I think I'm a couple episodes behind right now, but
okay. No,
and I haven't listened to the one because practice date was before this, right?
Yeah. No, Sister City.
But you've already done practice date, right?
Yeah, that was the one right before, I think. Right?
Yeah, one of my I don't know what you guys' favorite lines from that was, but one of my favorite parts of that just like makes me bust out laughing is when they're Anne and Leslie are on the date, and Anne's like, she says something about her sister or something, and Anne's like, okay, what's her name? And she's just like, Torple.
Yeah.
Maddie brings that up. Like, yeah, we love that.
I love Torple so much. Like that part just.
There's so many basic ass names to go to, you know?
And Torple, it just, oh my gosh, it kills me every time.
We should name our whoever gets their next animal first, we'll name their animal.
So good. And Will Arnett is in Arrested Development. I don't know if you guys have watched that, but when when Amy Poehler is in Arrested Development with Will Arnett, and she plays his wife or girlfriend or something like that, and but I don't know, something about them, like he has to make up her name, and they're like, oh, what's her name? And he's like, Crindy. So me and Brett always think about like Crindy and Torple, and it's just like, where the hell did they come up with these names?
I don't remember that scene in Arrested Development, so I'm so glad you mentioned it. That's awesome. Torple.
Oh my gosh. Go back and watch it, because Amy Poehler plays like this like crazy person, like she's like a girlfriend that's like kind of like slutty or something, like running around, and Will Arnett is an insane person in Arrested Development too.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
I love his when he rides his scooter, not the Segway, when he rides his Segway. So funny. Well, you guys, okay, so if you haven't rated or reviewed us yet, please do that, or subscribe to us yet, please do that. I really want to do eventually a giveaway, so we'll be planning that, where, like, if you write a review, not only read it, but you may get, like, a little gift card or something fun for you, or maybe you could be, like, you could have a walk-on appearance on the show, like, you know, we'll have some tiers for you, so I think that would be really fun. Because I am so passionate about this project, and I feel like people really like it and they love Parks and Rec. So I just like want to spread it with the world, spread our joy with everyone else. And then, so next week, well, I don't know. I'm not going to say what next week is because we've got a lot of special guests coming up for you. So I'm really excited about that. So stay tuned for our next moments. But yeah, thank you for listening, everyone. And thank you, Brookelyn, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yay! So, side note, there will be no therapy this week, but that doesn't mean that there's no therapy in your regular life. So, if you have something that you want to tell us or write in, please let us know. Maddie, what do you have to say about that? Do you think that that's a good idea?
I think that's a great idea. And voice memos, remember, you can send us emails, voice memos, message us on Instagram. We'll get it anyway. And if you don't want it to be shared on the pod, that's totally fine. But we're here to listen to you and just take your vents in if you have them.
Yes.
Your rants, rather.
So healthy. And Brookelynn, I can't wait for you to be a part of a therapy session one day. It'll be great.
Yes.
Yes, I will look forward to it. It was kind of therapeutic for me to talk about just, you know, trying to find inspiration in every day.
That's true. Good call.
So in a way, I had a little bit of therapy running throughout this episode. So thank you.
Okay. Well, yes. Well done. You're so welcome. No, seriously, this has been awesome. I love to have an actual person that works in the government. I think that's really wonderful. And we'll definitely have you back on. And you guys, if you loved Brookelynn, because who doesn't, then please let us know in the comments or DM me or whatever. But yeah, again, thank you so much and have a wonderful week. Go to your therapist if you have one and keep going if you don't have one. So, okay, we appreciate you.
Have a good week.
Bye.
There's a park and some pals, and there's also therapy too.